I am excited because at this very moment, again, make sure you guys go to YouTube, I am going to be joined by former Attorney General of the United States of America, Eric Holder. Eric, thank you so much for joining us here today, Attorney General. How you doing?
Well, it's great to talk to you, Kyle. Great to see you just a couple weeks ago, and good to be on your show today.
Yes, sir. It was great to see you a couple weeks ago to meet you, and thank you so much for following through on joining my show. But I want to get right into it. Attorney General Holder, why are you campaigning for Susan Crawford today?
Well, I tell you, this has become a battle between Musk money and democracy. This is a battle between having a court majority that is pro-democracy and a potential Wisconsin Supreme Court that could become anti-democracy. We have a majority now in the Supreme Court that's following the facts, following the law, and we can't risk losing that majority and all the progress that we have made with regard to voting rights, reproductive rights. There's more work to do with regard to collective bargaining. And we want to have a court that's going to follow the law, it's going to follow the facts, and not be beholden to, Musk's millions of dollars, the special interests. That's why this race is so important.
Absolutely. I feel you on that one. And you talked about Elon Musk, and I just want to ask you, can you tell me why a billionaire white South African who is not an American citizen is so heavily invested in the outcome of our Wisconsin State Supreme Court race?
Because he wants to have in place a justice on the Wisconsin Supreme Court that will support his agenda. And that agenda, as we have seen, is anti-democracy. He's not in favor of Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. And, people have to ask themselves, if that's the guy who's supporting this guy, this Schimel, what kind of justice would Schimel would be? And then beyond that, Tesla sued the state of Wisconsin to grab more control over Wisconsin State's auto industry. So if you think that Elon Musk is not going to think he's going to get something for his $25 million that he's invested in this race, when his own auto company is suing in a case that probably will end up before this same Wisconsin Supreme Court. If you don't think that there's a connection there, you're being extremely, extremely naive.
I 100% agree with you. We are being joined right now by the 82nd United States Attorney General, Eric Holder. Now, also in this race, you talked about Elon Musk, but there's another individual that is well known, and his name is Donald Trump. He has endorsed Brad Schimel in this election. Why should we be concerned that in a nonpartisan race, the president of the United States is openly campaigning and endorsing and having commercials air for Brad Schimel?
Well, here's the deal. I mean, look at Schimel's words. I mean, he said that he will turn, these are his words now, I'm not making this up, he will turn the Wisconsin Supreme Court into a, quote, support network for Donald Trump. So that's why Trump is concerned about this race. He wants to make sure that all of his agenda is carried out at the state and local level, that it will have some impact potentially on the makeup of the congressional delegation coming out of Wisconsin. Trump and Musk see this race as important, both for how it will affect the very negative things they're doing to the American people, but also they know that if Susan Crawford, an unbelievably qualified judge, becomes the next justice on the Wisconsin Supreme Court, people around the country, the news media, the political types are all going to see this as a rejection of Musk, as a rejection of Donald Trump. And this race will reverberate beyond the borders of the state of Wisconsin.
You heard it here from the former Attorney General Eric Holder. This is a firewall race. This is a race that can show that you cannot buy an election by being a rich billionaire like Elon Musk is trying to do. Now, Attorney General, there are four major issues being discussed for this election. You talked about it a little bit earlier. Abortion rights with our 1849 law here that basically bans abortions here in the state of Wisconsin with no exceptions. So rape, incest, none of that. You cannot get an abortion in the state of Wisconsin based off of that law. And public sector unions, collective bargaining, voting rules, and congressional district boundaries. If Brad Schimel wins, what does this mean for our freedoms here as Wisconsinites?
Well, I think all those freedoms are potentially at risk. I mean, one only has to look at, Schimel wasted millions of taxpayer dollars on partisan efforts to impose new restrictions on abortion. I think that 1849 abortion law has, as you said, no exceptions. And think about it, that bill became law when women didn't have the right to vote. when African Americans didn't have the right to vote.
We were enslaved, right? The vote, Attorney General Holder.
Exactly.
We were enslaved.
Exactly. And this guy supports that law. So reproductive rights on the table. Voting rights, a question of whether or not the Supreme Court decision that overturned a gerrymander with regard to the state legislature, whether or not that one stays in place. Collective bargaining, all the things that Scott Walker did when he was there and had that gerrymandered state legislature, took away collective bargaining rights from union members. All of this stuff is on the ballot. And if you want to protect those kinds of rights, you want to get out there and vote today for Susan Crawford. Now, here's the deal. You can vote today, you can register today and vote on the same day. If you have any problems with trying to vote, go to 608-336-3232. That's a hotline. Make sure you have your photo ID with you, but get out there and vote.
Get out there and vote today. Polls are currently open and they close at 8 p.m. And we are speaking with former Attorney General of the United States of America, Eric Holder. Now, you talked about the gerrymander map, and the work you do is heavily surrounded around the National Redistricting Foundation. Your goal is to end the practice of gerrymandering of congressional and state legislative maps. How does gerrymandering negatively impact the black community?
Well, I mean, it means that you end up with, if you have a gerrymandered map, as we've seen in state after state around the country, you see that Republicans in the gerrymanders that they put in place use that power that's illegitimate to make it more difficult for people to vote. They do things that are inconsistent with the economic interests of African Americans, and again, you've seen that all around the country as well. But the thing that I really focus on is the negative way in which they use that power to get at African Americans' ability to be involved in the political process by making it more difficult to vote, coming up with unnecessary requirements for people to get to the polls, to come up with ways in which they draw districts to minimize the impact that African Americans can have. It's why we've been successful in lawsuits that we have brought, in Alabama, Louisiana, Michigan, all over the country, Virginia, all over the country, to try to get and make the system more fair for people generally and for African Americans in particular.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. And one last time, can you tell Truth Nation, our fan base, our listeners, the state of Wisconsin, why a vote for Susan Crawford is a vote against Brad Schimel and Elon Musk?
This is all about Musk money versus democracy. It's between progress and going back to a protection of this special interest. If you want to protect a woman's right to choose, if you want to make sure that the right to vote is protected, if you want to restore collective bargaining rights for people in the state of Wisconsin, that's what this choice is all about. That's what this choice is all about. You have an unbelievably qualified woman in Susan Crawford, who's been a great circuit court judge. She's been tough, but she's been fair. And you have a guy like Schimel, who has, is in favor of restrictions on abortion. He sued to overturn the Affordable Care Act. And think about the impact of that on the African-American community. And he's defended the state's egregious gerrymanders. So the choice is clear here. Do you want to say no to Elon Musk? Do you want to say no to Donald Trump? Do you want to say yes to democracy? Do you want to say yes to a fair system? Vote for Susan Crawford. Do it today. The polls are open. Get out there and vote. No excuses. People died. People committed themselves. People sacrificed so that we would have the right to vote. We have to honor the ancestors. African Americans have to honor the ancestors. Everybody's got to honor the ancestors. White folks, black folks, doesn't matter. Get out there and vote.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us here today. It has been my absolute honor. And thank you, Mr. Attorney General, for taking the time to speak to our community about the importance of getting out to vote today. Thank you and have a blessed day.
All right. Keep speaking truth, Kyle.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I do appreciate that. I most definitely will do that.